Now we're live. Now we're live. Admit all. Admit all.
Whoa.
Look at this. We're having
Hey.
a party.
I know, it's like a party.
We're having a party. We're having a party. I love this. Hey, welcome everybody. I have you on mute right now just so we can get started and talk about our stuff, but then we'll take everybody and let them talk and we'll have our party. So, and of course, my gardeners just showed up. But my window's shut, so it shouldn't be too loud. Okay, Lori, what is going on today?
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I just thought we were having a party today, so let me.
New forms.
Yeah. New forms came out today. I did not check if they're live, but I heard they are. So we talked about those a little bit last week. So we have the new fire hardening form, and we have the revised contingency removal form, and I did notice to buyer to perform, and the COP, contingency of buyer's purchase. So those are all revised. The COP is a complicated form, and I know we don't use it on every transaction, but you really need to pay attention to this changed version. There's one section where they tried to make it clearer, and so it's different. It's not necessarily better or worse, it's just different. So if you need to use it or you are receiving one on your listing, be sure to read it very carefully. It is different. And the fire hardening, basically you want to look at your NHD report, and any property that is built prior to 2010 that's in a high fire or very high fire zone, this form is required. So you've got, we have a new year built criteria. We have, anything before 1960 requires the earthquake disclosure. Anything before 78 requires the lead disclosure. Now anything before 2010 may require the fire hardening disclosure. But again, it's based on whether it's in the high fire zone or a very high fire zone. Your NHD report will be the best resource for that. That's about it. That's about it on new forms.
That's about it. Well, and I know we both just got off of an update that was going on at Orange County Realtors, and a lot of the stuff that they talked about wasn't new. If you're one of the nerdy realtors, you already know this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we're a little ahead of the curve on that, but they had some good reminder information, and also made me kind of realize that there's a lot of agents that they're just not as nerdy as us. They still don't know a lot of things going on out there. I was kind of interested in hearing what they had to say, because I thought we were going to hear something new, but a lot of it was just a reiteration that we have the COVID rules that kind of were reactivated November 30th, that, all of that stuff we did last March, we're supposed to be doing that now. Or was it April? Was it April by the time they got that figured out?
April or May, yeah. But either way, I wouldn't even say reactivated. I think it a better word is reminded. Reminded that all of those things still apply. But if you are a broker and you have an office, there are some additional criteria that you need to pay attention to, and especially come January 1, there's a new law. I think it was AB 685. I think that's the right number. It's either 685 or 865, but I think it's 685. And that one specifies that if any of your employees, and in this regard, agents are counted as employees too, are tested positive, you have to notify everybody that somebody is tested positive. You're not supposed to disclose the name, but there's some new rules around that. So CAR is putting together an FAQ and a template for us to be able to use. But that's January 1.
Okay. And I thought it was interesting that there was like a little reminder, excuse me, that agents are independent contractors for tax purposes and a few other purposes, but in COVID land, agents are employees. So one thing I thought that was interesting is that if 3 people at a company that could be considered employees, which pretty much anybody at that point, come down with COVID, that needs to be reported to Cal OSHA or the local health department, excuse me. And if anybody is hospitalized, that needs to be reported too. So that was kind of news to me on that front, considering, well, we would have to have our whole office together before we could, hit that magic 3 number. It really, we don't have to worry about it too terribly much, but if
And
you're
it's within a 14-day period too.
Yeah, except for the hospitalization, wasn't that 48 hours?
Oh, maybe, but the 3 or more is in a 14-day period. Yeah, that was a piece I hadn't heard before.
Yeah, so that's in case you have a larger office and somebody is not feeling well, you've got a little bit more burden on you. Probably best not to be going into the office. Unfortunately, if it hasn't hit you before, by now somebody that's had it. Unfortunately, you may know somebody who's not doing well with it. I know us from the Rancho Santa Margarita marketing meeting, our meeting facilitator, John Alisi's in the hospital on a ventilator right now. And, when it's somebody that I've always respected this from day one. But, stuff's getting real. It's going to use another word, but we're on Facebook Live. And, we just all need to be careful, And one thing that I thought was interesting too, that was a reminder, is since we do have a mask mandate, if somebody's not wearing a mask, you can ask them to please wear a mask, especially if it's in your course of business. Because I know I've been walking into clients' homes. It's their home and they're perfectly comfortable in their home and they're not wearing a mask. And you're just kind of like, what do I do? I'm in their house and I've got mine on, but that's about as awkward as I've been. But my last meeting, thank God, they're more paranoid than I am. And they're all, okay, have on your mask and, put on your booties. I'm like, okay, I like you guys. So just kind of a reminder out there for us, because, we're out there, and kind of in the trenches, not like a grocery store worker, the people I really feel bad for. I really feel bad for the grocery store workers. But Olesi and Inez asked how John's doing. I haven't heard anything more than what the Facebook posts are saying. Hopefully he's doing well, and if we could all send him a little prayer or some positive energy for fast and full recovery, I'm sure that would be much appreciated. Let's see, in the chat we've got from Ed, hey, I'm going to try something new. Ed has a question. I'm asking Ed to unmute so he can ask his question. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun.
Hey,
Ed,
Lisa, how are you guys?
Hey,
Yes.
like those glasses.
I like it, and here it is.
Wow, check that out.
Ugly
Okay.
sweater. Okay, my question: if you don't have a team, and if you are just an agent by yourself, don't you consider yourself as an independent worker, or independent, not worker, but independent, contractor?
Yeah, so you're always considered an independent contractor unless you work for a brokerage that has hired you as an employee and they're paying you a salary. So if they've hired you as an employee and they're paying you as a salary, then you are an employee versus an independent contractor.
Okay.
Most of the times on a team, you're also still an independent contractor because the team isn't putting you on payroll. Some instances they might though, but that's usually more administrators.
If you are an S corporation or an LLD corporation, you consider like an employee.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you are established as a corporation because that's for your tax purposes. So they're looking at the status, the employment status with the brokerage.
Got you.
Lisa made a good point. We're independent contractors per the IRS, but all other government agencies, they still consider us employees, just because that's what they know. They want to be able to say anyone that is working for you falls under this employee status. So that's why for workers' comp, if you have, an agent working for you, you need workers' comp because that's considered an employee. It's confusing for our industry because we don't use that term. We're not employees. And even the Department of Real Estate has changed their terminology from employing broker to responsible broker to eliminate that confusion, or at least, minimize it. But most agents, nearly all agents, would be considered independent contractors no matter what. Just a few brokerages bring people on as employees.
Got you. Thank you, Lori. And Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Good to see you guys. Yeah, the California regulations treat IC as employees. Yeah, pretty much all of the government entities will just classify them as employees for their purposes. So workers' comp, the COVID rules, sexual harassment requirement, even though the agents don't have to take it, they're counted. Great. Cool.
Oh, look how festive everybody looks. This is so much fun. I don't get to get dressed up and go anywhere. I don't even get to get dressed down and go anywhere. Oh my gosh, now I got the dog barking. I had to mute myself because the gardener's leaf blower was right outside my window. It's Monday. What can you expect? Okay, is there anything else that they mentioned that was worth noting?
No.
One thing I will say, and you and I both picked up on this just a little bit, was they were mentioning like the DOJ NAR settlement thing was like done. It's still a work in progress. And with this group, I want you to hold up your hand if you went to the CRMLS thing we did on Friday with Ed Zorn. Anybody go to that? Okay, I'm gonna if you want to talk, unmute yourself, because let's have a conversation about that, because I thought that was spectacular. Take yourselves off mute and go for it. Ed?
All right. So I have a question. I just heard like last couple of weeks that CRMLS or not CRMLS, but OCAR, they are changing some disclosures to disclose your commission to your buyers. Is that something going to happen, or is it's going to happen?
It's going to happen. That's
Oh
the
God.
DOJ NAR lawsuit settlement, and Ed touched on it on Friday. They touched on it a little bit in the Orange County Realtors thing that we just hopped off of. It's going to affect how we all do business. And something that Ed mentioned was we all should be using buyer broker agreements. And I'm sure you guys are just like me. It's like, I know I should be using it, but I don't want to ask somebody to do that. They're going to, and for a million reasons out there, I'm going to come up with some reason why I shouldn't be doing it. Guess what? We all better spend the, little holiday break practicing how we're going to be talking to buyers in the future, because we do have to disclose how we are paid. And Ed brought up the aspect of what was going to happen in the multiple listing. Excuse me, my phone's going to go off here. I'm hoping it'll just go away. And how the consumers are going to find out how, the consumers are going to know how much we're getting paid. So we have to know how to deal with this. And we're going to have to come up with a value proposition for our buyers. We're used to a value proposition for our sellers. It's like, hey, I earn this money because I'm doing this. Guess what? You get to figure out how to do that for buyers, because now we have to disclose that we are not working it for free, which was how a lot of people have done it over the years. Don't worry, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, this, you know,
Fine.
I'm free.
Yeah.
No, not, they're paying for you. Now we have to be a little bit more upfront and honest.
I
Lori,
think
you
that
wanna-
was the main argument that they made for why they're changing the rules, because the agents were saying, oh, well, there's no cost to you. It's free for you. You're not paying for it. So they were trying to maybe make a distinction that there isn't like no cost. There's just, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Someone has to pay for the lunch.
Right.
Exactly.
Lisa, I just also wanted to mention, which is the biggest portion of the buyer broker agreement, which he said that we all should be using, is that we are in violation of Article 9 of the Code of Ethics if we do not use the buyer broker agreement. What?
Yeah, I heard that too, and I made a note to go back and look at that because I hadn't heard that from any of the other presentations I had been on, and I'm not arguing it because I know Ed really knows his stuff, so I really trust what he's saying. But it was a point that I thought, oh, that we're technically already in violation of it, and I would think as an industry we would have figured that out by now. So I think that's something that's going to be interesting to go back and really understand why it's a violation, because I've been hearing that it would be good practice, a good practice to use the buyer broker agreement, but I have not yet heard it's going to be required. So I don't know the final determination on that. I think that we're going to learn that once these rules are solidified and ready to implement. But it may be.
So I have Article 9 open, and I can kind of assume that he's talking about 9-2 when he's saying when assisting or enabling a client or customer in establishing a contractual relationship, example, listing, representation, agreements, et cetera, realtors shall make reasonable efforts to explain the nature and disclose the specific terms of the contractual relationship being established. So I can see how someone would make the argument there, but it probably does need to be like more specifically clear.
Yeah, and we probably will get more clarity as the days pass. We had 45, well, not we, but NAR had 45 days to get together their rules, how they are going to make the Department of Justice happy. So what we're hearing is stuff that kind of turns out we're hearing from lawyers on lawyer opinions right now. We have information from CAR. We had Ed's take, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, that what he said about the, we're all in violation. I was kind of like, well, if that was the case, our pro standards would be awfully, awfully busy. But it's good business practice. And, the thought of having these conversations is going to drive me crazy, but it needs to be done. And I think that there's a way that we can explain, preparation and figuring out how you are going to be able to explain it to your potential buyers. I think kind of the cool part is, we have contracts with sellers. Wouldn't you like to have a contract with an agent knowing that they're watching out for your have a fiduciary duty and interest to you as a buyer? Because when you think they're going to take off half the time, how hard are you working for them anyhow? That they should know that you're working as hard for them. It's just like that listing. We just don't have a physical sign out in front of their house saying, I'm working with Lisa Dunn as to find a house. So I think that's where it's going to be interesting. We've got time till everybody figures out how the little fine points are going to be. And we've asked Ed if he'll come back later and talk to the group again. And he said he'd be happy to do so, but that's when things will get finalized a little bit more. And I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot when we come back from the holidays. Don't you agree, Lori?
Yeah, definitely. And Ed's position will be based on the CRMLS rule implementation and technically how it works, how it functions. He may not give further advice on the use of buyer broker agreements because that's not really his area, even though he is a real estate broker. His role and his capacity is CRMLS. So I think we'll hear more from CAR on how the buyer broker agreement will play into that. On the Friday meetings that I was attending, which they're on hiatus now until January 15th, so we won't hear anything before then. at least from that group. But a lot of the chat would focus on, here's a great reason to use a buyer broker agreement. But like you, I mean, in my sales career, it took me a while to build up the courage to ask for it. And then I did it just a few times. You know, I don't know. I think there's an argument there of, well, is it in the client's best interest to tie them to one agent versus allowing them to kind of shop around with other agents? So I think there's another side of that argument that we'll have to figure out, well, what's the best approach? If the goal is to make sure the client has the best options, why tie them to one agent who might be a lousy agent? So we'll see.
Exactly.
Like
Hang on, Inez has a question, and so Inez,
Yeah, I
go
mean,
for it.
it's kind of like, well, like what you said. I mean, we would use one for a seller, but at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know if the agents on this Zoom call do this, but my insurance policy, if you will, for my sellers is I put it in my contract. Seller can cancel this contract at any time for any reason at no cost to seller. Because at the end of the day, no one's ever canceled on me, but if they wanted to, for whatever reason, I'm not that agent that's going to say, no, I'm sorry, you signed a 1-year contract, you're stuck with me. Because what's going to happen? They're going to go on social media, they're going to go on Zillow, and they're going to rip me a new one. And so why would I want to do that? I would just release them. It's the cost of doing business. It's a write-off. And so that's how I see the buyer broker agreement. I've never used it in 14 years. Should I? Probably. Have I lost a buyer or two because they haven't been loyal? Of course, we all have. But at the end of the day, again, if they sign it and they go go elsewhere, I'm not going to sue the buyer or sue the agent or try to get the commission. I mean, that's just me. I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Well, I agree with you. I think a lot of us here agree. But the form came into being because of conflict. And so there are agents. I know of an agent recently who held their buyer. I know of an agent recently who held their buyer to the contract and got paid out of it. And I know agents who've gone after other agents for commission they felt that should not have been earned by that second agent. So it'll be interesting to see, because I think that there are a lot of people, who will behave the way you described and just say, all right, cost of doing business, and others will say, oh no, oh heck no, and go after it. So I don't know what the answer will be.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's see. Carrie, go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Hi there. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, just give a quick little perspective from the lending side about how we used to not have to disclose what we earn. And when the laws changed and we had to start disclosing on back in the day, good faith estimates, now the loan estimate and closing disclosure, it's awkward. I'll be honest with all of you, it's very awkward when you're having to disclose what you're earning as an income. But what we found is, and I work for a broker banker because I want the freedom to be able to send my loans and be creative. But the reason I wanted to share is that was an awkward moment. And a lot of people said, why would you want to work for a broker? You have to disclose, where if you're with a banker, you can hide it. I don't need to hide my income. I earn it. I work really hard, as do all of you on this call. I think it's just stepping outside your comfort zone and feeling worthy. And not only that, educating the consumers. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that they have no idea. You're on meetings like this. You are staying up to date. You have so much education and knowledge that's required of you that if you feel confident in yourself, you should probably not feel uneasy with them knowing about what income is being earned, because typically it's not all yours anyway. You have to share it with a broker, somebody else. So at that first moment when you have to disclose it, I understand it's very uncomfortable. The more you do it, the more comfortable you will get. And I just wanted to share that with you, that I've gone through those growing pains as a lender when the laws have changed. And now I have no problems when they see that on there. And if they question it, I appreciate it, because I want them to be savvy. I want to educate them about what it's like to work hard and not get paid unless a deal closes. And so that's my 2 cents. And I hope all of you do well in 2021. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Carrie. And I like your Chargers hat.
Mhm.
I wish for your sake the Chargers were doing a little bit better, but I like your Chargers hat.
I think it's a good perspective that Carrie brought because, you know, as we talked about it, the last session of Nerdy Realtors, Coffee and Compliance last week, you know, our industry is always changing. And so we have to just adapt, and we will, you know, in my career in 20 years, I've seen a lot of changes already, and we'll see more. So we'll figure it out. You know, I think, and as this group, you know, we can share some ideas or some useful language with each other, not just coming from Lisa and I, but with each other, that may be helpful.
Yeah, I think this is just going to take some getting used to, and we have a lot of change coming, and just knowing about it, positioning yourself so you're not going to be blindsided by it. You know, stick with us every Monday, and you know, we will definitely get you. Well, not next Monday, because next Monday we're taking a Monday off, aren't we?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're taking the Monday
Taking
off.
Monday off. Thank you, Joyce. But you know, especially, you know, and if you have any friends out there that are you know, not as plugged in, invite them to come in and listen. Even like my son he works for a brokerage up in Santa Monica, and he hopped on the Friday call, and he's like, I had no idea this was happening. It's like, well, then you should be like listening to your mother. And, you know, because this is good information, so we're happy to share it, and you know, invite a friend. And you know, I'm really quite happy by the number of people we have at our little party today. We've got 14 people on Facebook, we've got 19 people here, and that's not counting Lori and I on either one. But boy, what a great turnout. Anything else happening on the compliance front that we're seeing? Market, anybody seen anything with the market? Take yourself off mute and let's have a conversation.
I think everybody's in holiday mode right now. It's the
Okay,
mad rush to get the transaction closed by the end of the year and really before Christmas. So.
Well, we're gonna let Barbara talk, because number one, she had her hand up, and number two, she's got the best hat here.
Cool.
My cat was looking at me very funny. So yeah, it's been pretty slow for me personally. I've just kind of been hibernating at home and not really getting out much. And I am more of a listing agent than a buyer's agent. So I haven't worked with buyers in a couple of years. And so I have gotten really standstill. But I did enlist as a Zillow agent 4 months ago, and for my zip code, which is 92506. And you know, I got 3 or 4 calls a month, and they didn't lead to anything. Most of them were on these auction properties that they put a list price that's half the value of the home, and so that generated a lot of calls. But this last 30 days, I've had not a single call. So I called Zillow and I said, you know, knowing that the whole Zillow parameters are going to change come January, and I haven't been notified of anything by Zillow, being I'm a Zillow Premier agent, I should have been notified of something, right? So I'm like, so how is that going to change for your platform? I hear you're going to be more like the Redfin model. And the sales representative he said, absolutely not. I don't know where you're hearing that. That is not what's happening. Nothing's changing on our end except, and then he did say, except we're going to be more like Redfin. And I'm like, well, you just contradicted yourself, you know? So I don't know. And I still don't know how it's going to apply to me personally. And all of a sudden, I've gotten 2 calls from Zillow buyers in the last 2 days. So it's like I must have activated something, but it's been very slow. But he says everything's changing come January. There's going to be a lot more inventory, and because of the new way they are doing their platform, they'll supposedly supposed to be a lot more leads coming to the Zillow agents. But I'm this close to canceling. I have one more month, and I'm going to wait and see how January goes, and then I'm going to make a decision.
Can you go month to month?
After
Or a year?
6 months, I believe you can.
Because you may want to stick around just another extra month or two to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until my contract is up, which is actually, I think, February. And
It's going to be
January.
It's going to be interesting to see how they communicate with you because, again, Friday's conversation with Ed Zorn, he was explaining what the difference was going to be. And, again, this is from CRMLS, but they are impacted by them. And one of the things is they're going to the IDX feed, just like what we would have on our websites, which is what Redfin has. They're not going to be doing leases. It's only going to be sales only. So they figured out we're going to save our bread and butter, and charge people to do the lease listings, I presume. But he said that the agents were going to be more of like the traditional referral structure, which is kind of like what Redfin does. If Redfin gets the scraps that they don't want and they toss them out to the people that have signed up, if you can get something to go, then you give them a piece of the action. And that's what Ed was saying was going to happen with Zillow. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with all of the realtors that have been giving them money for all of these years, how it's going to work on the referral side. Again, another change coming. And, I'll say there's some other things out there. I don't think, I'm going to share something with everybody because right now from the group, I think Inez is my only, one head-to-head competition out here. And I'm happy to share it with Inez. And if Pam Pedigo was on here, I'd share it with her too. Check out HomeSnap. It's one of our little member benefit kind of things through CRMLS. And I like your cat. And actually,
He's getting closer and closer.
I've been on and off with them kind of on, I like that, I got like a little website going and they have some really cool tools and good promotional tools. You just switch on and you don't even have to really think about it. And when I first did it, my phone started lighting up with leads and I'm like going, holy crap, it's working. What's going on here? I wasn't expecting this. I just wanted some ads out there floating around to make my sellers happy. So the price is a lot less and, you can control how much money you want to spend, on Google or Facebook or Instagram or Waze, which, has anybody looked for a house on Waze ever? Yeah. So I like cut the Waze. I'm not paying for that. But it is definitely an interesting platform. I know they had a special before. I hopped on a few months ago and I got signed up for a year for $99 or something like that. It's normally $600. And then you pay for your ads on top of that or whatever, but I'm using them for website. Check it out. If, you're trying to pick up some online leads, have I ever converted any of them? Nah, but they're coming in, and who says that one won't convert?
Well, wait a minute. I thought you were giving us help.
What was that?
That was Nancy. You want to mute her?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's on a call or something.
Okay. Alrighty. So, check that out because who knows? I mean, who knows what's going to go on out there in January? If they're still running the special, maybe they are. It was like a COVID-19 special. But, and I'm just saying this as a little, spread the word out there, trying to be nice and pass on information. But I was, I'm pretty happy with it.
Lisa, I believe Inez has a question and she's asking to be unmuted.
Well, you guys are in charge of your own unmuting. You guys should be able
No,
to.
you cannot. You cannot unmute
I
yourself.
took you
No.
all off. Let's see.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was, it said that you had to unmute us.
Oh, well, that's not good because now it's like allow participants to unmute themselves. Thought it was checked. It's checked again. So you guys try it and let me know if it doesn't work.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question, and I'm not trying to be the Debbie Downer here, but is anybody concerned about the overzealous sellers right now? I get the market, I understand it, like all of us, very well, but it's a little concerning when you see a 2,100 square foot home going for almost $1 million in a, 860 neighborhood, because, of course, buyers are just going crazy, with these way over asking offers, where all of a sudden, maybe 3 years from now, you want to sell and they're going to be upside down. Anybody else concerned?
I think we're going to see things slow down a little bit. I think we're going to see the inventory numbers fly up in January.
I agree.
Anybody agree with me? Who all thinks the inventory is going to increase in January?
100%. But I'm wondering if the seller that is going to list in, as I always say, right after the Super Bowl is going to say, well, my neighbor 3 doors down got $60,000 over asking. And so they're going to, overlist the price, only to sell at should have started at this price to begin with.
Carrie, go ahead and unmute. Let's see.
Just curious.
Okay.
I can give just from the lending perspective. We do try and protect consumers from that. So if you're going and talking to consumers and they're saying, I want $1 million for my $800 and some $1,000 property, it is an option for you to disclose to them. You do realize any buyers that come in and make an offer have to pay the difference of the appraised value versus the purchase price. That can be a significant amount of money. And unless it's a cash buyer or somebody who's very asset rich, they're going to exclude their chances from a lending perspective to sell that home, because we do have to go by the lower of the purchase price or appraised value.
Right.
So if that home comes in at 860, they have to bring in that $240,000 or $140,000 difference plus the down payment. So whatever the difference is, they have to bring that in, the buyer, in addition to whatever down payment. If they were coming in with 20% down, you're talking about a lot of money, and they literally can exclude themselves. And I don't know if this helps you, but it is something to bring up to them to give them a reality check of how that could impact their ability to sell that property.
Right, and that's a conversation.
We're getting along.
And that's a conversation I always have on both sides. However, since COVID, and since I was able to return back to work, I've had, I think, 6 or 7 listings, 5 of them, no appraisal required. And these were maybe a 40%, a 25%, a 30% buyers coming through, and the appraisal has been waived.
Appraisal waivers are granted based on the loan value usually. So if there is a large enough, down payment, that's viable.
Yeah,
if someone's buying $1 million house.
When the DU and LPs are run, there is some type of an AVM behind the scenes for Fannie and Freddie. And yeah, we're blessed. Our county just went up to, I think it's 822 for loan limits for conforming. So it's awesome. However, I'm a former underwriter, so I read all the conditions when that comes in. And one of them is value is within reasonable, and it goes on from there if an inspection waiver has been given. So if the value is overinflated, it will get caught in that DU or LP, and it will not be allowed the inspection waiver.
Okay.
Yeah, I was seeing those earlier. I haven't seen too many lately. But yeah, and also too, the market's going to take care of themselves. This is what everybody does. It's going to be a replay of like spring of 2013 is going to be a replay of, the end of 2017, where, the market just gets overheated and everybody thinks, oh, I'm entitled to this money. The Orange County Register said the price is going up. If you're out there making noise, mute yourself because I don't want to have to mute everybody again. But, you know, it's just the hazard of the business. And all of us that have been around for a while, we've rode this cycle enough times where it's like, yeah, I know your neighbor got that. Yeah, I know that's what the paper said. Paper's 3 months behind. Our inventory levels have just gone through the roof. And, you know, again, something that I do, so I can talk intelligently with my sellers and my buyers, or a person, well, I don't talk to anybody at the grocery store, but if I could talk to somebody at the grocery store, you know, I keep track of what my inventory levels are for my area daily. And I can tell just by, you know, how many active homes are on the market. And that's really all I keep track of, is how many actives are on the market for this particular area of homes. And, you know, it's like, okay, if I see it creeping up steadily, I know there's a problem. Right now, we kind of went up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down. So, you know, I'm not sensing a trend yet, but I think we're going to see in January, all of the people, depending where COVID goes, I think. We still got a lot of variables out there, but I personally think we're going to see it, and we're going to be having those conversations that nobody wants to have. But also too, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lori, it is an ethics violation to not tell your sellers the true, give them a true picture of the market and the price of their home, correct?
Yeah, it would be, it can be an ethics violation. It's a matter of somebody reporting it though. You know, I mean, we all know better. We know we need to give an accurate picture. We should not be those agents that just say, sure, I'll take the listing for 500,000 more than I think you're going to get, just so I can get it signed, and then we'll do a price reduction later. Nobody should be operating like that. But in order for the code of ethics to be enforced, you know, it's got to be a complaint has to be issued. So I think, you know, it always
from the consumer though too.
That one would probably come from the consumer, although it could come from another agent, maybe a local farmer or local agent that lives in the neighborhood who's like, this is just not acceptable. So, I mean, it's in a case like this, it's up to us to keep our clients informed about the market. Stephen Thomas's reports would be great to be tracking, just to understand how the market's going. And, you know, there's OC Fast Stats that's through Orange County Realtors. You can look at that data too. So we have to just educate people. I threw in an article, Orange County Register article, about these new $1 million neighborhoods that are not $1 million neighborhoods, but because of the price appreciation from the low supply and high demand, they've creeped in, like Inez was saying, you know, 860 is now $1 million neighborhood, and it's like, it shouldn't be. So I threw that in the chat. Interesting read.
Yeah.
It's current too, as last week.
Okay, anything else going on out there, guys? Who's ready for Christmas?
I'm ready.
Wow, you know, kudos to you guys. I'm not even close. Is there a holiday this week? It's Friday, right? Friday's Christmas. Oh, this is not good. This is not good. How about you, Lori? You ready?
You know, I'm a different version of ready this year. It is what it is. Like, I'm as ready as I'm going to be, and this is what it's going to be. I was talking to my dad over the weekend, and he says, yeah, pretty much blowing off Christmas this year. I'm like, all right, that's good. He put up my brother put up the tree for him, but otherwise, no shopping, no gift giving, no get-togethers, and it's all good.
Yep, it's going to be a different kind of Christmas, that's for sure. You know, I just decided I was going to have a local catering company drop off my little Christmas feast on Christmas Eve, and I'm not going to cook. And this is coming from a house that does nothing but usually cook every day. But man, I am so looking forward to just sitting there doing nothing. That's going to be my Christmas. I'm just going to sit there and do nothing. Anybody got big plans for the holiday? Which we all shouldn't, because we all should be just quarantining in our homes.
Being home in my pajamas.
Yeah, this will be my last work thing for the week, because in anticipation of Christmas, my wife and I bought a cabin last month, so we're going to go up, and I'm not going to do any more work until the new year.
Good for you.
And thanks for joining us as your last business thing of the year.
And the second you said that, your phone's gonna ring and a buyer's gonna want to write an offer, you're gonna get a listing.
I know I've jinxed myself.
Go ahead
My
and
wife
make
was teasing.
plans.
My wife
Let's
was
all
teasing
make
me about
plans.
that. Yeah,
Well,
One
and
of-
where's your cabin?
it's up in Lake Arrowhead, and it's actually funny because one of my criteria was it had to have cell phone reception because not all of them do. So my wife was teasing me. She was like, "So you really do plan to work up here?" I was like, "Yeah."
Maybe not this trip, maybe in future trips.
You know, you can just kind of like wrap your phone in tinfoil or something and say, I don't know why it's not ringing.
I'm sure she'll be okay with me spending a few hours on the phone. I mean, we'll be up there, just the two of us, for like a week. At some point, she's gonna get sick of me.
Oh, heavens. Anything else going on out there? Anybody just want to it's party time. Take yourself off mute and let's chat.
Okay, well, I don't want to end on this negative note, but I forgot that I remembered. I saw an email real quick this morning from the Department of Real Estate, and they don't put out emails very frequently, but they're warning of new scams. People are calling agents and saying they are the Department of Real Estate and asking for information and for money. So it's a scam. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, that is pretty sad. I guess they figured that the Social Security Department is just old now and nobody cares. And so now we have to come up with a new department and we might as well go after the real estate agents. But, you know, and actually after the beginning of the year comes along, I want to have a friend of mine come in and talk about fraud because, you know, we're all used to hearing about the wire fraud and, you know, and believe me, it's still going on out there and wire fraud is still happening, but there's other kinds of fraud going on too. And it's really big in the title world. So we'll try to get that set up for one of our Monday morning coffee and compliances in 2021. So we can learn a little bit more about how we can protect ourselves. And yeah, really watch out for that wire fraud because it's going big time out there. Okay, now everybody coming.
Okay, sorry. I
Go, Joyce.
have a little business thing since you mentioned fraud. What I've been using is a mail system for really sensitive emails. If I'm sending documents or wanting my client to send to me, is an email system called Proton, Proton. And they have a free version as well. And I don't do enough of it to pay for it, but I use Proton Mail, Proton Mail. And it's very secure. You have to have a password to get in. It's encrypted. So I just wanted to throw that out since you mentioned fraud.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Interesting.
Okay, guys. Well, you know, here's one thing. We need to take a Christmas picture. So we need everybody to put on their hats and whatever it is that they're doing. Daniel, get on camera. You and Nancy. Come on, get on camera. I don't like the black box. Daniel, you're my back row buddy. You've got to get on camera.
Maybe he's not camera ready. Let's not push the issue.
He's a guy. How camera ready do you have to be?
We've seen a few that are not
We've
camera
seen a
ready.
few.
Okay, so
Well,
everybody.
Jennifer.
Okay. Oh, Brandy, you got your hair going. You look good. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3. There we go. We'll put that out on the little Facebook group. And
Trying to get my antlers to show, but they won't.
Oh,
I was trying to tilt my head so that the ball would show on the top.
oh, Daniel, your laptop has no webcam. Hopefully Santa's going to bring you a phone with a really good camera. You can use
Oh,
that.
I have something.
Inez.
On the off chance of anybody's local here in Mission Viejo, I know this is random, but I have a lot of Clorox wipes, like a lot, because a very good friend of mine works at Costco. And so every time they come in, she'll bring me a pack. So with this new variant virus that just hit Europe, I'm sure it's going to hit us just like it did this year, 2 months from now. If you know anybody who is really in dire need, because I know you can still get them, it's a hit and miss in the stores, but I'm happy to. I've been donating a lot to people that I see on Facebook that say I need them for my mom or I need them for my, elderly aunt or whatever. So if anybody's in truly dire need, let just
I
call me.
might hit you up to maybe grab some for a woman's shelter up in Santa Ana.
Okay.
So I will be in touch with you because
Okay.
I'm in Mission Viejo too.
I know. All right. Well, Merry Christmas. I'm going to jump off, but Merry Christmas, everybody. And thank you, Lisa and Lori, for putting these on, and everybody stay safe.
Well, thank Christmas for joining us. Merry Christmas to everybody. Have a very safe, happy, healthy Christmas and New Year's.
Merry Christmas and thank you, Lisa and Lori and everyone, and Happy New Year. Oh, we're gonna see you next week or not?
Nope, we're
Nope.
taking a week
Nope.
off.
So Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. And we will be back. What is the date of the first Monday of New Year's?
4th. Yeah, the 4th.
We'll be back on the 4th.
Here for the new year. Thanks everybody for joining us each week. It's always
Okay,
fun to
sounds
read
good.
your info.
Thanks for the invitation and everybody have happy holidays.
You too.
Merry
wish you all
Christmas and
a
thank you.
Merry Christmas,
Happy
everybody.
Festa Christmas Hanukkah.
There you go, Carrie. Yes.
There you go.
Yes, Carrie.
Don't forget Festivus is on the 23rd.
Oh, okay. And it's so nice to actually get to see everybody too. This is a special treat. And who knows, maybe we'll change up our format next year. Don't know.
I like it.
Thank you for doing this. It was great seeing you.
Great seeing you
Of
too.
course, I see you every Monday, but it was great to share.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next year.
Happy holidays. Have fun in
you.
the year ahead, Rajat.
Okay, and we're going to shut it down in Facebook land. Bye, Facebook land. See you later.